brain is absolutely ridiculous and one of the least understood aspects of the natural kingdom. We don't even understand how the brain of a worm works, so how on earth are we meant to be comprehending our own evolved grey matter? Psychology has only been officially studied for about 130 years and we're still making huge discoveries every year. My mum's a psychologist, so I grew up hearing about all this stuff and really took for granted some of the things I learned. So like any responsible millennial, I decided to start a podcast about it and share the sweet, sweet gift of therapy. I'm sat on the couch with my mum, Sandy. She's a psychologist with over 20 years experience studying and treating clients. Hi mum.
Hi Adam.
We're going to release a new episode every week talking about a different aspect of mental health and therapy, and hopefully some of you will find it quite useful. All our episodes are going to be filmed and up on YouTube if you want to sit with us. We're sitting in our living room next to the fire. It's really nice. Good to watch. So just go to our YouTube, which will be On The Sofa Pod. We're also on Instagram. The link will be there at On The Sofa Pod. Give us a follow if you like us and rate us 5 stars on iTunes because it helps other people find the podcast. Share it with your friends. We want to reach a lot of folk. Last week we talked about therapy shopping and how to find the perfect therapist for you. And this week we're going to talk about things you can do today, right now, to help you manage either symptoms or to try and prepare you for therapy properly. Yeah.
Okay. So once you've got to that step of choosing the therapist, you're almost on your way then. But now you need to get organised. Now you really need to funnel in. So you want to go into those sessions, the first one particularly, all of them, but the first one, as orientated and not disorientated. So most people, when they come in and you say, have you had therapy before, and they say no, do you know what to expect from therapy? No. Sometimes that's quite good because you can create your own template for that client, but other times it would be better if they had a clue, which is why I try and send out what is therapy. Okay.
Yeah, Mum has like an A4 booklet that kind of talks you through it all. I mean, we're going to cover, well, we have covered a lot of it on the podcast, but...
So going into the orientation versus disorientation, it's very much up to you.
Okay.
It's your job to do this.
Okay, so it's like previous homework.
Getting your mind ready is so important, but here's a few tips. Timeline. Perhaps consider writing down all the significant positive and negative events in your life with approximate dates. So A4, line down the middle, positive, negative, approximate dates. So when you were born, for example, that's positive. And then going through life events. This can take about a week.
That's a big job
to do, really. Yeah, maybe longer. And some people say, I'd forgotten all about this and this. So give yourself time because it will start filtering through.
You do find that when you start asking your brain to recall stuff that it hasn't for a long time, it gets better and better very quickly, and you can start remembering things that you completely unlocking memories almost.
Yeah. So I would recommend that. Journaling, date, mood out of 10. 10's amazing. Did anything trigger your mood today? Thoughts that you may have had during the day, so thinking patterns. Behaviours that you might have done that might have caused a drop in mood or a rise, and also what was your sleep like. So
that's really interesting. Okay,
how easy is that?
What were the things again? So mood out of 10.
Date. Mood out of 10. Any triggers today? Thoughts that you may have had during the day. Behaviours that you might have done. So what I mean by that is you might have arranged to go or thought about going on a walk, which would be really useful for you, but you didn't go, you just stayed in. We all do that, right?
Right.
But that can have a knock-on effect, particularly if you didn't sleep well the night before, so that's going to cause a few issues. And it's just really looking at the micro details of your day.
The habits.
Yeah, habits. So thoughts, feelings, behaviour.
Okay, that's super easy.
Yeah.
And with the timeline, how much depth are you going you wanting from somebody on this?
I mean, that's entirely up to them. So quite often people will come in with their timeline and there'll only be 6 things on it, like when they were born, when they went to school, when they got married, you know, very
big events.
Yeah. What that normally means is either they haven't understood the question or the task, or they have possibly been the type of person that from childhood learnt how to repress their thoughts, not suppress, repress their thoughts. So it's a child mechanism, defence mechanism.
By just not acknowledging those thoughts.
And you'll say to them, well, can you remember this time when you were 12? Nope, can't remember any of that. So it's quite interesting. Or I'll say, well, why, you've got on your wish list that you want to manage anxiety, how bad is it? 10, it's really bad, or whatever. And when did it start? I can't remember. Why do you think it started? I can't remember.
Right.
So you're dealing with somebody that really does block their thinking off.
Mm-hmm. So even the way that someone fills out this timeline can be useful. Something that I know somebody who you've asked to do a timeline before, and they haven't finished it yet because it's very difficult to them to sort of engage with these memories, and it's quite triggering for them to go back through all this stuff and to write it down. They don't mind sharing it, but just the act of acknowledging it is too difficult. So how can someone in that situation work through it? What's the best way? Is it just taking time, or? I
think that's a really good point, because
if someone's been sexually assaulted at 15, you're asking them to go back and almost acknowledge it on their own.
I think that's a good point, and I think that they would need to perhaps put a big circle or square in there saying, need to be in therapy for this.
Okay.
So that's a really good point.
I think it's just a bit too much to write down, just to say there was something here, but we're not going to talk about it right now. I just got an email, sorry.
So it's not safe for them to delve into that on their own. So that's a really good point.
Okay.
And maybe that's something that needs to be stipulated.
If something's really, really difficult for you, don't do that without the support maybe that therapy can offer.
Or just put a note in the negative section.
Okay.
Biobasics.
Oh, I like biobasics is something that you preach a lot.
Food intake and fluid intake. So maybe in this journaling you could put how much coffee you've had or whatever fluids you've had, and what type of food you're eating. Is it all carbs? Is it all caffeine? Because that's important.
Something you said to me before is if you... I'm going to get this right now. If you eat good food and you drink enough and you sleep enough and you exercise enough, it's quite difficult to stay depressed unless there's something else going on there.
If you look after the biology, then it will help prepare the neurology.
Right.
Yeah. And what you've just said there is true to a certain extent, but for some people who are really, really poorly, getting them to do those things is really hard.
For sure, we've all felt that we didn't go on a walk today, or we'll just stay up late and watch this extra episode of this TV show, and it spirals so fast,
quickly,
really, really out of control. You start with, I'll step and I'll get up an hour later, or I'll skip breakfast because I got up at 11 today, I'll just start with lunch, and then suddenly you're down to 2 meals a day, running on 6 hours sleep, and you didn't go for your walk, and then stuff starts to get out of control a bit.
Well, think about the biology's going out of sync. Yeah. and the circadian rhythm is going out of sync. So you're going to go out of sync.
Yeah, ultimately we're animals, and you need to treat yourself like an animal sometimes and do those basic things.
Basic things.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much it, I think, for today.
Is it? What can you do right now? Write a timeline. Try and do the things we've spoken about in previous episodes about orientating yourself, finding out what it is you actually want from therapy, and like be upfront about that stuff. Like, this is what I think is wrong with me, these are the issues I'm facing. Journal as much as you can about how you're feeling, what you're eating, where you're going, your behaviour, how you feel day by day. Keep a diary, and this is also really useful for you to track progress as well through therapy. 2 months on, you might look back and be like, well, I had a week of 2s 2 months ago, and now I had a week of 5s. That's a massive deal.
So then it would be, why or how have you managed to get from there to there? What's changed? What's different?
Yeah, and also, okay, now we're at 5, but where do we want to be at an 8? Really? So where do we go next? It's just so useful to have that record of your progress. And then finally, do the basics: sleep, food, drink, exercise.
Yeah.
And try and you always recommend go for a walk in the morning.
Yeah, the morning, because it resets the circadian rhythm better than in the afternoon.
So if you can get circadian rhythm is to do with your rhythm. It's to do with your sleep and sleep habits and things. So yeah, if you can go out in the morning, it's better for you than
even if it's only 20 minutes.
Yeah, fantastic. If you enjoyed this podcast, that's the end of our first month. That's the end of our first month of episodes. We're recording all these on the same day, so it just feels like one big long episode to us. If you like this, please go to our Instagram. It's @onthesofapod, where we're going to be posting other little tips if we get them. All these episodes are filmed on YouTube as well, so you can go and check us out there. I'm going to be watching some episodes of my favourite TV show, BoJack Horseman, with Mum in a bit, and we're going to see what she thinks about some of the topics there. It's all about anxiety, depression, addiction, poor parenting, attachments. It's a really deep show, and Mum's not seen it, so it should be quite interesting. Anyway, we'll see you next week. Next month, 3 episodes, is going to be methodology month, as we're going to be talking about CBT, PCT, and psychodynamic therapy, and which one might be right for
pros and cons
of each and what they're for.
Yeah.
Fantastic. See you next week.